Welcome back, Chiefs Kingdom. It's the day after, or that's what I'm going to call it anyway. We have a lot to talk about. Tonight is all about you and your questions. All you new subs, all you new members, we're going to tackle everything that you want to know about. Coming up tonight, welcome to RGR Football. Welcome back. Dan Harms is here.
What's going on? You know, that was a nice little surprise. It was nice coming in cold. Everyone just kind of like gets shocked. Think I'm in the YouTube channel because I commented. So yeah. Hello, I'm actually here.
Got to keep everybody on their toes. And we need all hands on deck tonight because there's a ton to talk about. I'm not going to beat around the bush. I just wanted to give you guys, I wanted to start with an up. So I gave you Travis Kelce on the thumbnail. I hope you guys enjoy that. I heard his comments last night. I didn't get to it till after we did our post-game stream. But, Trav said a couple of things. I'm going to have another short for you here in one of the mornings, either tomorrow or Wednesday. Something that really stood out to me that's going to be key going forward. We'll talk about it again in the game plan video on Friday. Make sure you watch the game plans. I know, folks, you got stuff going. It's the end of summer and all. This is what's going to clue you into what's coming. We talk about a lot of things that are actually happening on the field. So with that said, Dan, anything you want to cover before we get into the questions?
Just that we should appreciate Travis Kelce way more than I think we do. I think that it's really taken for granted what he does. And I just live in the moment with Travis Kelce. Like that run was one of the single most impressive things I've ever seen on a football field. He had maybe 5 yards expected to gain after that when he turned on a dime and just said, yeah, I'm going to reverse field and find a bunch of different ways to get downfield. He got blocks downfield. It was phenomenal. I loved it.
Yeah. He's approaching GOAT level. Well, I'm sure we'll get into that either tonight or next time, but a lot of regulars in the chat. Nice to see you all. If you're new, sub, hit that bell right now so you don't forget. Folks, the likes always help us. We've been kind of light on that lately, so if you'd help us out and hit that that always helps so that more fans can find us. And we'll get into, we got super chats and stuff to get to, but we're going to get right into it here with AC30ish. I'm glad you're a guitar player. It's one of my favorite amps, by the way. Hitchens is slow. Neiman is Neiman and can't tackle. Bolton has been the best linebacker so far. He needs to stay on the field. My fear is that when Gay returns, he's the odd man out. Do you agree? You want to start, Dan?
Yeah, he is the odd man out because the flashes, he flashes every single game. And that's good that you want to see that from a young rookie linebacker who has a ton of talent. That's exactly what you want to see. And I think that those flashes are overshadowing some of the deficiencies in his game, if I'm being perfectly honest. And that's not a bad thing. We've talked a bit about how he's a rookie, and that's going to happen. But Willie Gay does everything in that position better than Nick Bolton does. And you want him ideally to play either where, Anthony Hitchens is, or honestly, they just need to just get him on the field more. I wouldn't have an issue with Neiman being the odd man out, but I do think that when Gay comes back, that Bolton snaps will be limited a little bit just because experience. And I think that that's the one thing that you can see on the field with Nick Bolton that's outside of his inability to shed blocks is his inexperience. He's not, when he does actually see something happen, he clicks and he goes. That's perfect. That's what you want him to do. But unfortunately, because he doesn't have those snaps under him, when he doesn't, which is about 75% of the time, he gets caught up in the rush and gets blown backward, which is again not an issue because he's a rookie. This is expected. So it's all just that.
Andy talked about the whole team not getting off blocks. Shedding, you guys, you've heard me talk about that. Pretty much every linebacker class for the last 3 years has to be able to shed, especially if you're undersized, and they don't. And that's just the way that it is. Aaron, thank you for being in the chat.
Yep, thank you very much.
Hello, everybody. Aaron did remind me, Mike in Sweden, MEP 97.99. I always forget your tag, man. Happy birthday. I'm glad you made it. Thanks for being with us in the Discord. Discord, folks, you can get into that if you're a starter level member or above right now. We'll eventually get to all the rookies as well. But hit that membership button underneath Dan and just click join, either rookie or starter, whatever, and we'll get to you. Let's see who else. Steve's here. Gary's here. Matt's here. Matt, defense does win championships. Ask the Bucks. Is there a phantom call on the Honey Badger last drive? Phantom, no, but it was a bad call. That's what I'd say.
I mean, it's as close to phantom as you can get. Like, that was a brush. It was a brush, and they were just like, nah, whatever. Let's go ahead and throw it.
Let's tag him. It looks like he's still coughing. Let's give him something else to worry about.
Man, that was just obscene. It was obscene.
Thank you very much, as always.
You're just incredible, man.
Ben is the man, our biggest contributor. Gooch, I don't know if he'll be in here tonight, but Stevie's in here. I want to say hi to him. Stevie is our biggest contributor, and you guys can see him on the Rogue Head Huddle. You're going to get some more of those, and I'm looking forward to that. I like to be able to watch something on here that I didn't produce, so that's always fun. Avery, how are you? Curtis, Josh, hope you're doing well. Any thoughts on Andy saying that he played more Dan than Juan because he had a better camp? And he corrected that to a more consistent camp, and I don't think that's true at all. I think that's coach speak for not telling you what the heck's actually going on.
Yeah, which is the problem.
Yeah.
They're never going to tell you, and it's very obvious that Juan Thornhill's the best of the two, and it's not close. He played better than Dan Sorensen did last week.
Yeah, and especially given the role. Now, I wanted to make sure that I'm not crazy, so I went and checked PFF, you guys, and I have all the grades and I have all the snaps. We'll talk about a number of things. I have a nugget for you on Chris Jones I'll put out as one of the first take videos in the morning here this week, too. It comes down to this. Dan Sorensen was the third lowest graded player. Now, that's PFF, and I don't put everything into their grades, but Dan Sorensen has more missed tackles than the Green Bay Packers as a team. And he has only one less than the Denver Broncos as a team. Yeah, has a significant impact on your grade. Now, he did not have any missed tackles that I'm aware of. He was targeted once, allowed one completion for 12 yards. Now, that's PFF taking a look at grades, meaning they don't know what the assignment was. Problem was half the defense didn't know what the assignment was. There's something going on with Juan Thornhill that we don't know, and we're not going to know until it's corrected. When we do, then we'll see him back on the field. Now, I know he's been cryptic on social media. If we learned anything from Tyrann Mathieu, don't put too much into social media.
Yeah, right. That's the truth, man. I had to take a lesson of that today.
Right. For the most part, Kansas Carolina, it looked like the defensive line was hesitant and trying to contain Jackson instead of attacking. Your thoughts? I think you're absolutely right, but that's not a problem with the ends. The ends do need to contain. It's the guys in the middle that should be attacking. That includes the linebackers. And that is something that I think is baked into the way this defense is coached. We've seen it ever since, quite frankly, Andy's been here. The fact that Andy Reid reiterated again today about the tackling and the shedding tells you that, it's finally gotten to the point where I can't sit back and just say, that's the defense. I'm going to let Spags take care of that.
Yeah, it's a big issue. And to be honest with you, when I'm watching this game again, I'm going to be taking a big look at the defense for you guys. I think that's where I'm going to do my film review this week. We're going to talk about some things that they can do to improve. But again, you have to take with a grain of salt the scheme they were playing against last night. You heard Chris Collinsworth talk about it. They were running some stuff that they have not run in different ways. They were pulling a bunch of different guys. They did exactly what they needed to do to confuse this entire front seven of the Chiefs. They did it to perfection, and the linebackers didn't know who was coming. The defensive tackles didn't know who was coming. Chris Jones multiple times didn't know who was coming. He got blown up a few times too. Like, they did a great job of confusing everybody. And so at some point, as much as the defense was an issue, you have to also tip your hat to that offensive line, who was a bunch of nobodies, to be honest. Always one guy. I think Kevin Zeitler was one of the only starters from multiple seasons on that Baltimore Ravens front. They came in, they bullied them, and they knew that they had the advantage because the defensive front seven was so confused they didn't know what was coming.
Yeah. Well, and here's the problem. Every team in the NFL gets to watch that film. You're going to see it again next week. The Chargers are going to do some of that. And the Chargers don't run a ton of power.
It's because they can't. They have Austin Eckler.
They sprinkle it in from time to time, but they're I guarantee it, after they saw what happened here. And so that's going to give not only Chris, but the entire front an opportunity to improve, because they're going to have to deal with it. And so I look forward to that. William, Willie Gay's very good, and he's actually, in my opinion, the strongest take-on linebacker on this roster, despite being the fastest one also. But he's not quite as bulky and as powerful as Reggie is. Now, Reggie didn't move as well as Willie, so it's always a trade-off. But I think one thing that they're lacking right now is they don't have, and he shouldn't be a starter, but they should have one depth linebacker that can come in and beat the snot out of the running game, and they just don't have one. They've de-emphasized it across the board at this point.
And we knew that with them releasing Reggie Ragland. Like, he could have been a depth linebacker. Just, you didn't have to start him. You could have been a guy you just bring in your 4-3 to just go get after the run. For this reason, for this game, really, to be honest with you, could have kept him on for the couple of the run games you're gonna face. But they said, we don't care.
Yeah. Scott, Steve, looks like Kyle has a different question. A bunch of questions kind of culminate in Jeff's here. To get the run D fixed, they have to see it better and they have to attack it better. It's about physicality and it's about a mentality to stop the run. It's about taking the guy's will to beat you. And that's something that they have to grow into, I think.
I hope so. And they're going to have to figure something out, whether it's going to be playing, maybe Derek Notty's not at full strength. Maybe Alex Okafor is not at full strength. He was hurt again in the offseason. Like, Frank Clark is probably not back to his 100%. I think that's rather obvious. And like you said, last night, Chris Jones is still learning defensive end. There's a lot of stuff going on. The talent, I don't know what's going on with Reed. That's a whole other thing. Like, I don't know what's going on with Reed. He's just not showing up. Like, he's disappearing. He's just nowhere to be found.
And Notty was getting the doubles when I was paying attention last night. We'll check the all 22 if and when we get it. But to me, Notty was getting the bulk of the attention. Like, he didn't have the greatest game. He had a couple of really nice plays, but it wasn't as consistent because he got a lot of their attention. And so I would expect Reed to make up for that, and he didn't. So honestly, the guy who I thought had the best game, and looking at his stats afterwards, he graded out the best of the interior offense, the defensive line, was Colin Saunders.
Yeah.
And so just having that depth, I think, helps. This is a unique team. This is when you needed more of your power, less of your pass rush from your tackles. That's going to change around for the bulk of the league until week 7, like Jeff pointed out. Will he be back most likely right after the 3rd week? So I thought Bills were 5th. I don't know.
Yeah, Bills are week 5.
Week 4 or 5, he should be back. That's what it is. Josh, why is it the Chiefs bring in run stoppers each year and yet the run defense bottom of the league specs? It's because of the way that they're coached to not penetrate and attack. They're not doing like 3-4 like two-way goes. No. But if you watch, and I put a bunch of the drills up that the defensive line does in camp, it is engage, extend, and look. That's the problem. You're not attacking that gap. You are reacting to what you see in that gap.
It's funny because some of the best plays that Derek Notty's made actually are that exact thing. You see him extend because he's so strong and he's looking for the ball instead of shedding, throwing your guy to the ground, which he can do with the leverage you have. It not only is that going to open out space for you, it opens up a gap for your linebacker to come through because you don't have a body there. So that's frustrating enough. But yeah, so that's definitely a systemic coaching issue.
Yeah, I'm with you. Let's see, Stevie. Travis played with so awesome in the fantasy football. You're right. Thank you for that.
That's awesome.
And Patrick, signing Tyron would give you space. I don't know that they would use it for a trade. I don't think it would be quite enough unless they drastically change something. Yeah. Let's see, Ben. When will a better linebacker take Neiman off the field? We all know he can't tackle. When do you think it happens, Dan?
It won't.
You don't think so?
I don't believe it will. No, I don't. Because who do they have?
You don't think Nick will eventually surpass him?
I don't. Unfortunately, I don't think so. I think that because of the way that they've talked about Ben Neiman's mind, it's already heads and tails, above what Nick Bolton's is because he's a rookie and this is complex defense. So I don't believe that's going to happen this year.
Okay. I will take the opposite side. I think it's probably close, but I think eventually he will replace Neiman. I just don't know if they're going to be running base defense at that point, if it's going to mean any more snaps. Yeah. So a lot of questions like this, Stephen. I will tell you this point blank. Can Clyde improve? Sure. There's no reason to move on from him, and they won't until he's done with his rookie contract. Never, ever would you move on from a first-round pick before that. So, I mean, unless something stupid happens off the field. So just give him some time. It's going to be all right. Quite frankly, I think it's all going to come together. I'm not concerned about it at this point. Are you, Dan?
I'm not, and I'm going to do my best here because I told Ryan before, I've been talking with Jay Moyer, as you guys know. I talked about it last night. He's going to watch this game specifically. He's going to break down Clyde Edwards-Helaire, essentially, what's going on in the run game and why some of the looks on some of the pancakes we're seeing in the offensive line aren't translating to run success. And you're going to see some of the issues with the run blocking unfolding. It's not meshing right away. It looks like it is. Sometimes it is, but sometimes it's not. So we're going to have that for you later in the week. He's going to do a great job for it. But again, I am 100% a believer in the talent that is Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and I don't have any reason to believe otherwise.
Yeah, I'm with you, Stevie. Thank you for the super chat as always. And folks, Stevie asked a question that I've gotten a lot on social media today. Why is it okay for Chris to learn on the job, so to speak, when it's not for the young players? And it simply comes down to this. He's a dominant physical player that's a Pro Bowl level guy already at one position. You give him a little more leeway to learn the intricacies, the instinctual things like when the pull block's coming for you that he's not used to having to deal with inside because of how good he is elsewhere.
That's exactly it. That's just all it is. He's just an all-pro type of player. Like, you just let him go.
Yeah. Guys, a lot of trade questions in here. Don't think there's a trade coming. They have no room right now, and no one's going to take the guys off their hands that they want. Joseph, thank you for your super chat, and this is a great question. This goes into what we were talking about last night, and I think it is definitely time to scale it back. This happened. This happened when, let's see, who did I talk to first? Several years ago when I first started, before I started the channel, when I was just doing the podcast, I had Brett Coleman on to talk about Spags' defense in his scheme. Nate Tice last year, Coach Vaz a couple weeks ago. All of them say there's always somebody who doesn't know what's going on. The calls are complex. Spags' calls are as complex as Andy's are. Yeah. That's a problem for this group and for a younger group. And I think if you just simplify, maybe not the assignments, but the calls themselves, you might have more success. Am I oversimplifying, Dan?
We don't really know because Spags hasn't done that. So we don't have like any physical evidence to say that will help. We just kind of assume it will be based on the complexity of everyone moving around right before the snap because they're not sure where to be. So I think it's a safe assumption. But again, maybe these guys just aren't very good. I think that there's a very reasonable question in terms of, I think the corners and safeties are good. I think that Ward is a problem, a big problem. And I think that the front four, has talent. They have lacked attempting to address the linebacker position until the last 2 years with second round draft picks. And you're seeing it unfold in front of you. The linebackers aren't good. And unfortunately, when you put stock into linebackers in the second round, they have to come in and learn a lot. Like, there's a reason, I'm not going to get too into it, but Micah Parsons, for example, is just starting for the Dallas Cowboys linebackers. Like, he's making plays. Like, some guys are just born with that instinctual defensive nature. Obviously, defensive schemes are different for each player. But again, like,
you're absolutely. But it's also a thing to say about Parsons in particular is he's rushing the passer a lot. He's not playing in space as much as we would think by saying that he's a starter. And it's also because it's a very simplified defensive scheme out there. Yeah. You don't have the rules. And you guys go back and watch the Vast video again. Because the first thing I asked him is to make this thing that nobody remembers is it's not just scheme. It's the rules by which you engage plays that tell you how to play this defense. It's not that Jarron Reed can't defeat an offensive guard. It's that he is taught to extend and look. It is not smashing a gap like I would. I cry out for the bear front and everybody says, why are you going all old school? Because you attack a gap there and you take away the run with that scheme. That's what it's for.
You want Lamar Jackson to throw the ball? Come at him with a bear front.
Yeah. I mean, please.
Just do something different. You come out there with four guys in the front. He's like, I'm just going to run all night.
Stevie, thank you again. You have a very good point. Snead would not have started if it wasn't for Bashaud Breeland's situation last year. And that does call into question, like, that was an identification thing, as a rookie out of a camp and that kind of thing. They're forced into playing Nick Bolton right now. So I don't know that that's part of it. But taking Hughes out when I thought he played his best game as a Chief, from both of them. But he looked markedly better last night in Chiefs uniform than he did all last season in a Vikings uniform.
Yes,
so
he did.
Then they take him out, they put Fenton in. I thought Fenton, he had some good plays. He had a couple where he got a little bit turned around too. Like, it's his first game action of the year. That's a question. Obviously, the Thornhill thing's a question. It's not disingenuous to support your team and still ask questions about why the coaches are making such decisions. Thank you for reminding us all. Robinson dreams of what Pringle did on that TT. You're absolutely right, and that's why Dan and I have been screaming for Brian Pringle to play more.
That singular play, which actually I've got an early clip of, I'm going to break down for you guys in a small little video at some point. It's just so impressive. Like we've seen it. The kick returns, some of the things that he's done with Chad Henne as his quarterback and catching touchdowns. Like, that play is all singular of everything that I've seen. He found space. He sat in it. And then he just said, bye. And he just blew by everybody. It was amazing. And I'm still geeked about it.
Big Chief Sean, I hope you guys saw his pregame ritual. We're going to start that up, and you're going to hear from Sean before the games. His views, hopefully a lot from the parking lot for the home games. I love that view. I haven't seen Sean in a couple of years. From the last time we were in the parking lot, Sean, we will catch up at some point this year. Great question. If you could replace either, would you replace the D-line guys or would you replace the linebackers? For me, it's the linebackers, not including Willie Gay.
I agree. And again, I think that if Brian is right, if the defensive scheme up front for the front four was different, if they were able to smash gaps, they would look much different. And then you could utilize them better, but the linebackers would still be the same. So yes, give me different linebackers and just reach out to me, Sean. Just come on. We can make it happen. It happen.
I look forward to that. That'll be fun. We'll see Dan over there on Sean's channel. Make sure you guys go sub to it. It's Big Chief Sean. It's pretty easy to find. Right here is his name. Steven, I think Dan and I are both of the plays we've been going for quite a while. That Dan does have a propensity to make plays. He makes a big play quite often. It doesn't outweigh what he does wrong anymore.
I'd also want to, if you could take away the bad plays that he made and the missed tackles, how many of those times would he have needed to make that big play? That's what I want to know.
That's a fair point.
And we'll never know because he makes too many mistakes to quantify it, if we're being very honest.
Yeah. William, thank you for your super chat. Appreciate the support. Would you be okay taking the Chiefs taking Neiman out and going with 3 safeties next week at this point? I just want to see one on the field. Thoughts? Yeah, I think they have to. Eckler's way too fast for the 3 linebacker set. You're going to see nickel and you're going to see 3 dime in there, 3 safety dime. I mean, in there quite a bit, I think.
Yeah, I agree. You got to get more speed on the field. They're going to have a ton of guys out there.
Yeah. Gary, they took him away with the 3 high safeties. I saw what I think was cover 3. Won't know for sure until the all 22, but it's significant. Whether it's 3, whether it's 6, whether they're playing, a drop 4. I saw that a little bit a couple of times too. The point is they did exactly what I've been telling you guys all off season. They took the Bucs game plan and just played guys deep and tried to rush and tried to make it work. They didn't get the pressure because the offensive line is better, but they still took the top away from Tyreek.
Yeah, there are a lot of exchanges. Like you could see them communicating, passing off Tyreek, which is exactly what you have to do. And so, yeah, it was a lot of fun.
A lot of communication that the Chiefs defense didn't do. Let's put it that way. And that's what it comes down to. You can make adjustments. You can do crazy things. You got to be able to talk it out. And I think there's an emphasis on this defense. I don't know if it's from the coaching staff or the players to try and keep everything so hidden by not communicating so that you don't give things away. But at this point, better to give something away than to allow continual lapses over and over and over. Should Chris Jones move back to the middle? No, he should not. Do you just?
I disagree, but that's fine.
Okay. I just don't think there's anybody else. I don't think Dana and Frank Clark is going to give you an edge that you can set. And I think Chris belongs where he is, and I'll have a nugget for you here in a day or two. How do you feel about Creed Humphrey's play last night? 0 pressures. That's all I know. Of the draft class, he is the top interior offensive lineman to this point. It's just 2 games, but I check that kind of stuff. So I'm really, really happy with him. And Trey Smith is right behind him. 2 pressures on the season this year. No sacks. So, hey, you can't complain.
Just the snap. I mean, he's had a couple of high snaps already. So that's something to keep an eye on. But other than that, he's been great.
Samuel, I feel great. I feel exactly the same way I felt about the Clyde pick the day that it happened. It's a great fit for the offense, and I still wouldn't have done it.
Yeah,
we would have both taken Clyde in the second. Like I had him as a second round talent.
Yeah, I mean, okay. I did too. Like he was my number one back, but again, based off of where you and I both think you should take running backs, he would have been gone in the second round. It's funny because Ryan and I have now been pigeonholed into this idea that we didn't want the pick, but we have to defend him because people aren't necessarily seeing exactly because he's not producing, which I understand. Like I understand the production's not there. It's frustrating with all the great lineage of backs. Like I get it, but I think that Patrick Mahomes has made it all different. His rookie season was one thing, but now he runs the offense. He truly runs the offense. So I think that there are some now complex differences that they prefer to have Mahomes essentially run everything through him. And that's kind of how it is. And unfortunately for Clyde, he's now in a situation where, yeah, he's not producing all the time. I think he had some very nice runs last night, but that doesn't get talked about because he fumbled the ball for the first time in his NFL career. So,
I mean, I thought they took a couple of nice chunks in the first half. I think it's going to be fine, you guys. You got to let him grow into it. Again, I think he's got decent vision, but I think he's a guy that had such gaping holes to run through when he was in college. It's still an adjustment going on. Yeah. I think he's going to be fine. Thank you, Avery. I would consider it. Vernon, of the two, Vernon's the only one that I would consider. And I don't know what he can give you, but that's a fair point. Chris inside, if you have a legit edge guy out there, I mean, I'd be willing to pay for Chandler Jones. I'm just saying.
If you could find somebody just for the first two downs, honestly, that's all you need. You need someone that can set the edge more consistently than Okafor and Dana have to this point. Okafor hasn't been healthy. If he was fully healthy, I think he can actually give you that, but we haven't seen that in the 2-3 years he's been here. So again, if you could find an edge at this point in the season to set edge against the run and only play the first two downs or in obvious running situations, then yes. But until then, I think that, it's tough because they didn't prioritize edge at all. Yeah. So it makes things difficult with the guys they have right now.
I'm with you. Steven, I'm at a 7 in terms of frustration with the defense. I try not to let it boil over. Deldrick, I like the way that you're thinking. And quite frankly, against the Titans, I would consider this. I'm not even close to joking, especially after what we just witnessed. I will take it in a heartbeat. Damn, I think I'm crazy.
That would be the best thing ever. I'm not thinking you're crazy. I think that would be the most confusing thing you could do for that offense. Like, why is this defensive lineman playing linebacker?
The only thing better is take 99 off of his back and put 9 on his back and then really screw with him. Oh, that'd be great.
That'd be so much fun.
Colin, can you go single digit for me, please?
Please.
Gooch, glad you're back.
What's going on,
we're going to make it tonight, buddy. I hit the post game late. Yeah. Oh, and you left the last super chat just as I clicked off. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate it. I hope you're doing well. You're here for all the smoke and terrible takes. I'm working on making my takes better, Gooch.
Oh, I'm not. My takes will remain bad, and I'll just keep talking about it.
Aaron, I'm not sure who I passed over, but let me know down below. I am fighting to catch up here, you guys. I'm gonna let Dan answer a couple while I scroll. Brendan, thank you for your support. We appreciate it. How much you guys pay attention to Pro Football Focus grades? Very, very little. I'm paying a little more attention now because I don't have the All-22 to grade myself. But usually I take the grades as and I look at the stats and what they produced.
If you can look at a grade and not see the scheme, that's okay. Like, because a lot of this stuff is taken out of context. I think the point system does not work for everything. Some things have more value than other things do. So it's a very straight line scale that I don't agree with. But there are some times you can look at it and it does help you evaluate a little bit. So it's just, you have to really get used to understanding that. That's difficult.
Yeah. Thank you, Brendan. We appreciate the support. Yes, thanks very much. Yeah, we have a good crew in here tonight. It's going to grow. I know it's a crappy loss and it's not that fun, but hey, we're going to get into it. We're going to get through it together. So welcome back, Chiefs Nation, Chiefs Rogue Nation. Just stumbled through that. Apologies.
That's all right.
Gooch, thank you again.
Whoa.
Jeez, you are
dude.
back.
What are you doing?
How much time does CEH need? Another year? If so, was the use of a first-round pick on him and other backs having trouble getting acclimated to the holes and the size of the fact that they close too quickly and they can't seem to burst through the hole? I think you nailed on what it is. It is that acclimation. I think he has plenty of acceleration in terms of what I see on testing. Will it take a whole other year? I don't think so. I think this is also part of having like a whole brand new offensive line in front of him.
Yeah, I think it's that, and I think it's right here. If I'm being very honest with you, I think he's just getting his head a little bit too much. If he was just go out and play, I think it would show.
Yeah, I can be with you there. 100%. Daryl, how are you? And thank you, Gooch, as always.
Very much.
Did you all have flashbacks of Bob Sutton? A little bit. In terms of the linebacker play, a little bit.
If we're being honest, I don't think Spags adjusted in the second half. So yeah, I had some issues. Like I thought this was supposed to be something you change a little bit, and I don't see any adjustment in the second half, really.
And you have a very good point about that because he did make adjustments week 1.
Yeah, he did. It was obvious. They were not good in the first half, and they made adjustments in the second half, and they shut down the Browns, and they started to get some things going. That did not happen last night.
I'm not sure why that is. That's something I'm going to explore. And like I said, you guys, I have 2 extra videos coming for you this week. Dan's got Tuesday and Wednesday, and I'll have some little clips, just little things that aren't worth a whole 10-minute video. So I just got to get some of the things off of my chest. Aaron, DTKC asks, sorry I missed you, DT. The Ravens were missing a few key starters. So what's the problem? It's scheme. It's not being aggressive enough. You guys laugh at me when I'm like, bring back Rex Ryan, right? That's why, because Rex will smash you in the face. They even showed a shot of his brother last night.
I was about to say, you know who's on that staff?
Yeah, right.
His brother.
And that's why they were making the most. If you listen to Locked On Chiefs, I told you I thought their linebackers were susceptible. Queen played pretty good last night because they let him run.
Yeah.
They allow their players. Yeah, they allow their players to flow and do what they do well. And the Chiefs seem to keep everybody kind of like a catalytic converter on them, don't go too far, don't blast too much, you're going to run past the play, and that is always a risk, but I think it's well worth it at this point.
Yep, I agree.
Gooch, thank you again. They have athletic linebackers, DOD and Cobb for another. Can you tell me these guys just don't get it, but Neiman and Sorensen do? I agree with you. I think it's a mistake that they let Cobb go. Yeah. I don't think that he signed anywhere, so I expect that they can bring him back because Cobb's athletic. Other than Willie, he's the most athletic guy they had on the roster in camp, and they got to just let him go. I think Hitch or Bolton in the middle with 2 guys that are flying around, I think you're going to be better off for it.
Yeah, I'm right there. I want to see them just kind of let if they let Bolton operate like they let Micah Parsons operate, he'd be much better. He'd be flashing all over the place because he'd be in the backfield too. I think that's obviously he's a much smaller version. He's not the athlete either, but I think that's what he does best is he gets downhill in a hurry.
But can we keep him to the hooks? Can we keep him to the flats? I thought he did well getting out to the flat, nearly to the sideline, well outside the numbers last night.
Much better.
Asking him to drop 12 to 15 yards vertically is asking for trouble, in my opinion. And I told you guys that from the first film that I watched on. Nothing's changed. Nothing's going to change. He'll get a little bit cleaner about it, but he's an instinctual guy that needs to be in the vicinity of the ball, in my opinion.
Yeah, the whole, we'll come back around. He can't do that. And that's just the unfortunate area of his skill set. He's not going to be able to come with a play action fake and then bail. That's just not his game.
And Gooch, you nailed it. I think that screen is one of the ones that I'm talking about. Moving laterally, well, he can turn and see, and it's not downhill north and south, but it's downhill to the sideline. You know what I mean? Yeah. That's what he's good at. And I think that he plays screens well. I think that he plays flats well. He's instinctual about it. And so he gets a good break on it as well, and that helps. But I'm with you. I just want to see them be uber aggressive and turn it loose. And man, I don't know what you're doing, but
what the heck's going on?
You're just trying to get rid of your pocket change. I appreciate it. I do need to catch up with you at some point, so I'll give you a call or something. And this one, how about against the Cleveland, Tennessee, and Ravens, you put Jones where he is best and let him play edge, while edge other games. I mean, Villanova looked Pro Bowl level against him, and he did give up on plays. Chris does give up on plays. He's not a full motor all the time.
We've known that. Yeah.
Yeah. And I agree with you. It was unfortunate. I think the flow of the game deteriorated Chris's attitude, and he should not have let Villanueva get the better of him. And I was surprised by it, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, it was pretty shocking. I'm just a little floored by the overall play of the front four last night. Was not good. It was not good enough. And they know it's not good enough. I know you don't want to hear that as fans, but they know it wasn't good enough. They're going to be just as pissed, if not more, than we are. So,
yeah, it's a tough one. Steve, I don't know about an under the radar. I've been so on the radar lately. I haven't really dug into who's coming on behind the scenes. Navo, why don't they switch up the defensive scheme when it's not working? It's because coaches coach what they coach. They coach what they know. Some are comfortable being hybrid, but they don't like flip over to a whole different scheme.
Much like the run schemes. I know I've seen a couple things in here about Clyde not having that natural cutback instinct, but some of these runs, a lot of these runs where those cutback lanes are there, it's not taught for him to cut back. That's the offensive line. That's him. He has there's a specific play where they run this inside zone, but he turns his entire shoulder sideways to the sideline. There's cutback lanes behind him, but he can't get there because that's how it's taught. It's how it's run. There are a lot of different things schematically and in the way that they teach in defense and offense that you don't go against it because you're not taught to.
Yeah, I'm with you. Seth, you got it. Don't get too concerned about it. But yeah, it seems like they've put the contract thing on the shelf for now. I don't expect it to happen anytime soon.
Yeah.
Avery, thank you for talking about my guy. I'm trying to be mellow. I tell you what, at some point I'll just do a live stream just in case Burton gets touches. I think that he will. And, no offense to Sherman, like I said, like that, but he looked good moving. That catch was nice. He can do more.
Much more dry.
I think that they have more creative things they can do. I think in a couple of weeks, you're going to see this offensive line get to the point where they can come off the ball like they did for Darryl in the middle of the field when it's not just a simple thing. Like I think they're going to get better as they go along, you guys.
I do too.
And again, what do you think of this one? I gotta take a sip here and find out where we are.
So Ian asks, I'm wrong in saying Sorensen and Niemann are basically the same guy. Both miss tackles and allow lots of catches. The only difference is Sorensen sometimes make plays. So yeah, Sorensen has 9 missed tackles on the year, guys. No other Chief has more than 2. So that should tell you that he's behind the 8 ball now in terms of the athleticism, because obviously he's putting himself mentally in the right position, but his body can't complete the transaction anymore. So I don't believe they are basically the same guy. I don't think Ben Niemann could play anywhere behind where he does. And Sorensen, maybe in terms of what you're getting from them, in terms of maybe jack of all trades kind of player at their position. So Niemann maybe just the linebacker version of Sorensen, and Sorensen the safety version of Niemann. I think that kind of gets in people's heads because Sorensen played dimebacker years ago under Bob Sutton, and so that kind of gets stuck into people's head. He no longer can play linebacker. No longer can he play it. So I do understand where you're coming with that. I think that the things I don't even think Niemann's as fast as Sorensen. And that's saying something. I think that Sorensen can actually still has some wheels. So so I can understand the concept, but again, 2 different players at 2 different positions, but do the same thing mediocrely. How about that?
Joseph, thank you again. Another one. I'm glad you took it to the positive. Thank you very much. Yes, I thought Patrick controlled himself. I thought he didn't push deep when he didn't have to, stepping up in the pocket. And don't look now, but Pringle contributing is big. Robinson actually doing things in a forward type direction is big.
Yeah.
And Mecole handled it. The only snap that I think he could have done a little bit more on, Mecole, was that long one where he didn't turn around to like the 7-yard line. If he had gotten his head around a little bit earlier, he might have been able to adjust.
So he did. He saw that he wasn't going to be able to get to the ball on his trajectory, so he put his head back down to try to speed up, and he wasn't able to get there on time. I did see him look for it and then realize he just wasn't there yet, so he tried to get some more acceleration. I think Collinsworth actually pointed that out on the game, which yes, he did do that. So he just wasn't in the right speed to get there. But I think that Mecole did a good job. The first 2 games, if I'm being honest, I think he's played well. And seeing him almost at 80% of the wide receiver snaps last night was very encouraging. I don't care what anybody else says. It's very encouraging for me.
I completely agree with you. And outside of that one snap, I was even going to say, hey, I think he's done everything.
Yeah.
He was like 4 for 4 on targets when it first started. And I'll say it again. I like a pissed off Mecole Hardman. Let's do this. Yeah. But together in the congregate, they are making up and contributing what Sammy did when Sammy was around. And you're going to have 2 or 3 of those guys every game. You're not going to have games where that contribution goes away because Sammy's hurt. So if they can keep this up, I think, Joe, you pointed out a really good point that this is getting
very good
better.
point. And that's exactly what you need to see from Mahomes too last night, if we're being honest. Get the ball around. And he did, to like, what, 8 different receivers?
Yeah. Julian, what do you got here? The reason you always hear about Neiman and Dan playing is they know where to be. If that's true, why do they play so? Okay, so we answered that one basically.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to answer 2 questions, but I did.
No, you did. That's great because I'm way behind as always.
Yeah. Let's go.
Mr. Big Phil, I appreciate this. Do you think Spag can get this corrected? I do. Will it always be a tendency? I think so.
Yeah, I think that. I mean, he's made a very obvious commitment to doing this. So it's going to be up to, I think, Matthew, Frank Clark, some of those bigger mouth guys, if we're being honest, to get some of the fire lit in these guys. Because, yeah, it's week 2. But again, you're building something. It's a whole season. You have to get better throughout the season. So they got to take it up with them.
I agree. Miss Holly, thank you again. Another super chat. Appreciate it. Very hypothetical. Wondering what your guys' thoughts are on Mahomes getting frustrated with basically carrying the team in spite of first a decimated offensive line in the Super Bowl and now a disappointing defense. He needs the support of a complete team. I agree with you. And I think what they're trying to do is balance the fact that they've had to pay their star so much money. You saw what happened to Russ Wilson, right? They paid him and star stuff's to crumble. They're trying to keep it together, and Patrick's trying to help that. I think there's some questions still about the way that they're going about it, but that's definitely the goal. Can they get it done? I think we're going to have to let it play out.
Yeah, they've invested, unfortunately, a little bit too much money in the defensive side of players that didn't work out. I think Anthony Hitchens being the 5th most expensive linebacker in the NFL, Frank Clark being a $20 million defensive end who didn't produce like it, is not helping their case.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. And unfortunately, those are things that will correct themselves, but not immediately.
No.
It will take a little bit of time. And I'm trying to look real close, just
Thank you very much, Holly.
Yeah, very much so. And I want to follow through on your point about the defense, because when I look at the season grades, so both games combined, the lowest graded player right now, according to PFF, again, take this with a grain of salt because they don't know the assignments. The lowest graded player is Frank Clark. The second lowest is Dan Sorensen. And Hitch is actually mid-tier, I believe, if I can find him. No, I lied. He's 4th lowest. And so those are things that's money wrapped up in older players that you were counting on to contribute that aren't working right now. If they get those turned around, everything changes.
Yes.
If they don't, then they have to make a change.
Yeah,
and that will be coming.
Very wrong about Anthony Hitchens having his best season. So that makes me happy.
Hey, season ain't over yet. Ian, how did each offensive lineman do this week? Also rank each guy on a scale of 1 to 10. Go ahead, Dan.
So the offensive line, I do think there's still some things they needed to work out in the run game. It's very obvious to me. So if I'm being honest, I think this week Orlando Brown was about an 8.5-ish. I think he played really, really well in all the way around. I think Finney had some ups and downs. I give him more of a 6.5. I think that there was some times that he was the penalty earlier in the game. I think if I remember correctly, it was on him. Maybe that was last week. I am having wires crossed right now. Then Humphrey, outside of the snap, I think that's a lot of the issue with him. He played really, really well. I would give him close to a 7.5, 8-ish area too. Smith, I know a lot of people love the pancakes. I get it. I love it when he's physically dominating guys too. He's got a 6 for me. He is allowing some pressure. He's got some issues in the run game still. It's just a work in progress. He's very, very good at what he does, and he'll get there. He'll get there. And I think Niang had some struggles. I think Niang was probably worse this week than he was last week. So I would also get around a 5.5, 6.
Oh, see, I gave him a little uptick. I had him a little bit higher this game, mostly because of the pressure situation. He didn't give any up.
I understand. Like I said, this is all based on the broadcast that I saw last night when I can't necessarily pay attention to one thing at a time for each play. So it's all kind of jumbled in there. So
yeah. Hopefully we'll get the 22 this week, folks. No guarantees. We're piecing it together as best that we can, and it's not on Game Pass yet.
I will have it.
You will? Okay. Rock on. So Dan will have it. I don't know if I will, but we'll
see if he can download it.
We'll see. Steve, I thought Tooney's playing fine. I like what he's doing. Pono, I don't think you've seen it as a Chief. He has plenty of instinctual cutback qualities. He did it in college. It's about the scheme, and I think he will get there here as well. Flapjack, thank you for the super chat. How long do we wait for the defense? I'm already concerned, so there's no waiting.
Yeah, I think
thank you for the support, bud.
Is warranted.
Yeah. Thomas, thank you. Canadian Chief. Both sides of the ball will start soon, I think, to lift each other. I don't think this is a team that's going to crumble and start pointing fingers in a negative way. I think they will try, and I think they will be able to right the ship together.
I agree. They're going to. They'll find a way.
Thomas, thank you for the super chat. And is Reggie available? No, Reggie is a giant, and Reggie played a significant amount of snaps and made some nice plays for them this last weekend.
Because they used him properly.
I'm happy for him. Yeah, they didn't ask him to cover.
Nope. Just run. Play the run. I don't care what else you do.
Go that way. William, thank you. I think they missed so many tackles in the first half because Spag figured out tackling would be the ideal halftime adjustment. Yeah, I mean, and in the coach's defense, they don't have time to teach it. They can't have contact during the week for almost nothing. Like, it's difficult to coach tackling. But this is ridiculous. It's not average. It is sub par. As a team, they are 29th.
And it's been that way for a while.
Yeah.
For years.
Yeah. Let's see. Red Hood. Sending DOD is not an option anymore. They don't trust him. They don't feel that he has the upside. Pono. Yeah, when the team says it's a team loss, it's because they're trying not to single anybody out. They're trying to keep together as much as they can. They start pointing fingers and calling people out. It's going to be bad.
Real bad.
Yeah, Mr. Phil, I agree with you. Jarron's not showing up yet. I think he will. I think he's going to play into it, and eventually they got to turn him loose, or they're just going to start getting their butts kicked.
Yeah, they have to.
William, can't call us Sack Nation if we don't get any sacks. You're absolutely right. And I should stop that. I apologize. Red Hood. Noddy is hurt. He's not 100%, but he's functional. He's a guy that plays through almost every injury he always has. So yeah, I wouldn't call him 100%. I'd say he's probably about 80, but
that's probably where I have
doing
to.
Yeah. Scott, what would you say about Warren God next season? I think Dan will celebrate, and I think I will agree.
Honestly, he should. I'm going to tell you guys. I don't know why DeAndre Baker is a healthy scratch.
I'm not sure either.
Because last night was another indicative thing that Coach Vass pointed out. They are basically putting Charvarius Ward on an island by himself, saying, go ahead. Just do what you got to do. We'll try to get some safety help around you, just because you don't really have the athleticism to do anything outside of this one thing we're asking you to do. And it's become an issue. Big issue.
W, I am going to try to do some of the analytics, the numbers vids. I'm going to do them in much smaller bites, though. They're going to be one of the first take videos, the ones that go up in the morning, because I don't have time to produce them anymore. There's just too much to do week in, week out. And if you guys haven't noticed, we used to do 3 or 4 videos depending on the week. Last week, we're going 6, and we're trying to do 7 days a week for you guys. That's what we're working on. That's why all the other contributors are coming on to help us out to try to do more, but it's still, there's just not enough hours in the day for me right now. I do have a day job that I have to keep up, keep my family fed and that kind of stuff. So I am going to give you some small bites. I will try to get to that this week. I promise you. Ward getting blocked by some bigger receivers isn't a change, you guys. There's a lot of questions about that. I'm not going to pull them up right this second. I will also tell you this. I think maybe the most disappointing play for me the last night was Hitch getting blocked by a wide receiver.
It was pretty awful.
Made me cry inside. Stevie putting back into the
what a guy
community here. Thank you, Stevie. Gooch, Liz, Aaron, Dan, and Jeff, thanks for the money this week in the picks pool. Members, any member level, rookie and above, draft picks. I know you guys are just here for the chat, so draft picks are in the chat. Rookies and everybody get the extra videos, and the picks pool that Aaron has started is one of them, where you get to see these guys go head to head. Everybody listed here as they pick the games that weekend. So make sure you check that out. You just got to become a member. Hit the rookies down there. We talked about Andy took this loss and what he's saying to Spags. How about how Veach and Clark Hunt? Do they get vocal with things like that? And you will not see Clark Hunt come into the locker room and tell anybody how to play the game. That's
I don't
just
think
not
you'll see
what
Brett
he
Veach do it either.
No. Could he take a guy aside and say, hey, you used to do this in college, especially the young guys, like get back, think about this
No.
as you're going through it. That could happen,
No.
but you're not going to see either of them do anything in Andy Reid's locker room that Andy Reid doesn't approve. So there's no way. That would tear things apart.
That would be worse. Yeah, they don't want them interfering essentially with a ton of stuff down in the locker room.
Jeremy, why not even one series for McKinnon? Quite frankly, because they're trying to feed Clyde and get him going. That's the only thing that I can come up with, Dan, unless I'm missing something.
I don't know. Honestly, I think that I wouldn't mind seeing a series for McKinnon if you're going to sprinkle in Williams, who's slower, less athletic than Clyde. He does give you that one cut burst and go kind of feel. McKinnon's got more speed than both of them. So if you're going to mix some touches around to the other backs, I think McKinnon at this point should get a little bit more than Williams. And that's not because I don't like Darrell. I love Darrell. I think that McKinnon is a better, faster athlete.
I agree. And you guys know I love Darrell, but
Yeah.
I think they all should be sprinkled in and play to their strengths. When you need somebody to get around the corner and bust one for speed, that's what McKinnon does. He catches the ball as well, if not better than Clyde as well. Yeah. Darrell in short yardage worked perfectly.
Yeah,
that's what he's good at.
He's for.
And here's the interesting thing, you guys. Before Clyde was the LSU back, Darrell was, and Darrell used to run their Wildcat package. Yeah, so you put Darrell and Travis Kelce in the backfield, you got Wildcat today. Everyone's gonna be like, "Why would you take Mahomes off the field?" Because we don't need Mahomes to get hit. Every now and then he gets a break, you guys.
Yeah.
Steve, this is a very good question, and I know that they fed him as much as he could take early, and they do see it as a developmental thing. But I thought he would get more snaps by now. I was very happy for Jody Fortson. Had 2 snaps, had a target, and made that catch. So, hey, make the most of your opportunities, Jody. I'm very happy for him.
Force the penalty. Would love it. You'd love to see it.
Yeah. Let's see. Arthur, what was the point of keeping Darius Harris over a guy like Tim Ward, whose athleticism would have been? I disagree. Tim Ward was beating third stringers. He would not have been a factor in this game, in my opinion. Darius is backup because of the Willie injury, and I think Cobb should have been that backup.
No, I agree. And the linebacker spot's thin for them without Willie right now, so you need more of them, and they felt apparently comfortable with the defensive end position, and I think we're kind of seeing now that they maybe shouldn't have felt so comfortable.
Yeah. Sean, right now it's because they don't put the all-22 out at all.
Yeah.
They're having trouble with Game Pass. They're trying to redesign it, and they don't have it out at all. We had to, hit up friends and neighbors to get some of the all-22 that you saw
last
last
together,
week.
guys. We patched it together.
Luckily, there's some film heads out there. We both have some pals that have access. My interweb is an issue. It's always going to be until I get new service. I will let you guys, when I get new service, you guys are going to get a bonus minute just for me to tell you this is live on the service. Oh, it's going to be wonderful. Gooch, thank you very much. Is it time for Andy to tell Spags back to basics? 4 down, 3 linebackers, pin your ears back and get home. Teams are just going to play chase if the Chiefs, if they can run us into oblivion. I agree with you in principle. I don't know that I'd go 4 down and 3 linebackers all the time.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you guys right now, maybe they don't have to against the Chargers because the Chargers' backs are based on speed. But when it comes to Tennessee, I want 5 down linemen. I want a bare front all day long and take away the A gaps and let the linebackers do what they do. And if you sacrifice having 2 deep safeties over the top, or if you sacrifice doing a 3-man robber rotation, which is something that I'm going to show you a clip of, you guys, then so be it. Don't let them smash you in the mouth until you're bleeding so bad you can't see out your face.
Yeah, I'm just hoping that this and the energy level picks up. That's one thing that was missing from the defense outside of the pick 6. The energy level was gone. There was no energy on the field. You could see it. There was nothing there.
Yeah, I'm with you. Pi, this is a good question, and they played a little bit. I think Juan had 2 snaps in the slot last night because of this particularly. Mm-hmm. Trying to see who can get in there and get the job done against the tight ends.
I think that he's the best option you got. And right now, without Willie, he's the only option you got, to be honest. No one else can do it.
And eventually it should be Willie, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I think they're going to try to make Dan do it more because they still feel, for some reason, they're just stubborn. They still feel that he can do that. And good Lord, if Gronkowski wasn't enough in the Super Bowl, I don't know what you're looking at.
I mean, Mark Andrews just ran away from him.
Yeah.
Mark Andrews isn't
Mark
a blazing
Andrews.
he's not a blazing fast tight end, guys. He just ran right by Dan Sorensen and last night. So
Pono, thank you for the super chat. Appreciate it. Brett needs to the approach the defense rebuild the way he did the O-line. It needs a desperate makeover. And quite frankly, that may be what it comes to. Because I think Noddy's resignable. I think he'll be cheap, and I think he needs to stay. But Jarron Reed's on a 1 year. Frank is cuttable after this year. I mean, everybody but Chris is either cheap or replaceable. And maybe they have to do the same thing. I don't know.
Yeah, if you're picking in the 30s and you're giving those first round picks, trading them away every year, it's hard to get young, cheap, possible high end talent. That's what they have sacrificed. They know they did that for a reason, and I'm assuming it's going to work out with Orlando Brown. But again, you did that with Frank Clark too, and I don't think that worked out for you.
Yeah, just want to make sure I put Gooch's up there again. Thank you, Gooch, as always.
Gooch.
Appreciate the support, buddy. I know you've been running around a lot lately, so
sorry I haven't money.
Yeah, right. Haven't bumped into you lately. We'll fix that. Let's see, Gonzo. We talked about Mecole earlier. Jarrell, we talked about Chris moving back. Just hit rewind, you guys. We're running out of time, so I don't want to go through it all again. Stevie, thank you again. How ugly
so much, guys.
The run D looked is sticking in everyone's minds, but what about the O only scoring 28? I think that if we knew the O would only score 28, we would have had the necessary think we'll win. I don't have a problem with it. Yes, the last two possessions were a problem because you had 2 turnovers in the last 3 possessions. But this team should be able to win scoring 28 points in the NFL. I mean, how many? Let's see, the Niners won by 3 and didn't score but 17, right? Like there's a number of sub 20 wins this week. 28 should win you a ball game if you have a modicum of defense. Don't get me on my horse.
Score us another touchdown. Like I know the offense only scored once, but that 7 doesn't just go anywhere. Like that 35 was still on the board at the end of the game. So yeah, I get the offense scored 28 points, but so the Browns last week did the same thing that the Chiefs did this week. Like it's almost the reverse. They led the majority of the game, and at the end, turnovers didn't go their way, and some bad things happened to the Chiefs in the fourth quarter. Sometimes it's going to happen. If it didn't catch up to the Chiefs last year until the Super Bowl, and it just caught up to them this time. It happens, and I know that no one wants to hear that because it's not fun to talk about or argue about, but it does happen.
Yeah, I agree. I'm going to rapid fire these guys so we can clean this up.
Let's go.
Should Jackson be called for that taunting for the flip? Honestly, I don't even understand how they're calling this. I would have thought so, but I got nothing for you.
Based on the taunting calls, the regular and the rest of the week, yeah, it should have been.
Yeah. Chris, Nick Bolton looked like he was waiting for a tackle. Yes, and again, this goes back to guys that have been on this roster for years. With Spags, I'm not talking about Sutton. Still like waiting to confirm things and not taking the action to them. Curtis Ward let himself get walked back because Ward is not functionally strong enough to stop that from happening. No. Especially when it's a sizable blocker. Holly, thank you for your super chat. Do you think some of the veterans have lost their fire? Seems like several, be it age or complacency of those in the NFL for years, haven't been fully showing up. I think that's part of it. This is always something that happens with the player's coach is that you have some guys that need to be pushed and need that stronger structure and that kick in the butt. And sometimes with a player's coach like Andy, and quite frankly, like Spags, you don't get that enough. And sometimes these lulls happen. It's up to the leadership in the locker room to turn that around.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Okay. She's here. Okay. I was waiting.
Around this time. Hi.
It's perfect. Let's see. Stevie, thank you again. And thank you, Miss Holly, as always. I was talking about Hunt Veach talking to Andy about the on-field performance. Oh, now I'm with you, Stevie. Clark definitely, I'm sure, will have a conversation with Andy Reid. I 100% understand where you're coming from now, and I do think that will happen. Night. But I don't think that it's going to be like come to Jesus or anything like that. And Veach, quite frankly, works for Andy Reid, so
yeah,
it's not going to get anything from there. If anything, he might bring him some ideas. I hope. But I other than that, I can't say that it would be anything like momentous. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm with you there.
Okay. Take this one.
So, no, and that's not because they haven't played well. I think that the Steelers are not very good. I think that they're a very bad team. I think I watched both of those games. Steelers aren't good, and I think that the Raiders right now are playing above themselves, and we're going to see them come down pretty quickly.
Yeah, I kind of tend to think that too. I don't think it's sustainable, but that's just me.
It never is with the Raiders.
Although I would take Brian Edwards today. I'm just saying.
I wouldn't.
Okay, that's fine. Cole, should there be a 1 week midseason where Spags lets Matt House call the defensive plays? I don't think so.
It would be fun.
The way that the linebackers are playing right now, I don't think that says let's let that guy call the defense.
The linebackers aren't very good either, though. So
yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I'm just saying I don't see that happening.
No,
if somebody
I
was
don't
going to
either.
call it, my guess is it's Dave
Daly.
Merritt. You think it's Daly?
I think
think
it's
it might be okay. He would be my second guess. I was going to say Dave Merritt probably has
Yeah.
more experience of making calls, but could be wrong. You guys, if you would hit the thumbs up, please, and maybe check out Locked On, maybe check out all the gear. That always helps us. We appreciate it very much. We're trying to step this up as much as we can. If we can hit 6 or 7 days a week for you, we will definitely do that. But we need you all to help us out. Make sure you spread the word and get more eyes on us, if you would. Chris Hughes, thank you for your support.
Very much.
Not Chiefs related, but Salvador Perez is going crazy for the Royals. Rock on. I don't know what that means. I don't.
He's hitting
baseball.
he's hitting tons of home runs.
Okay.
Tons.
Rock on. Well, that's cool. I like the idea. I read something on the Star a week or two ago that the Royals are looking for a new stadium. So I just hope that means it's within the metro. So I'm glad to see them. Success will help that.
Hopefully they can sustain it.
Avery, I'm glad you're with me. Sometimes people call me old when I say stuff like that.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Hey,
this is nonsense.
I want all the points. Mighty Mike, is it just me or did Frank Clark look like the best D lineman on the roster last night?
I'll have to address the film for that. I don't have. I'm not prepared for that answer right now. If I'm being very honest with you, I don't have an opinion.
I will say this: there were times that he did to me. I would agree with you at times. There were other times where I was like, "Where the heck is he?" He
made the only splash play of the front four.
Right. That's true. That's absolutely true.
So yeah,
and that is a factor. And and again, this is kind of the balance about what are you consistently and what are you at your best, right? And then that's the Sorensen thing, super high highs, but if the lows are that low, you're not helping yourself in the end. So,
and if there's no in between,
yeah. I think I definitely got all the super chats. There's a couple other questions, and we'll wrap it up, you guys. Yeah. How much of a factor is the acquisition of former Chiefs? Do you think that helped the Ravens systemically or schematically?
Schematically, no.
I
would say no.
I don't think schematically. I think Sammy knowing the DBs, for the most part, probably helped him a little bit.
Yeah, maybe.
But that's like a one-on-one. That's not a schematic now they have you.
I think what helped them schematically was seeing them the last 2 years and finally realizing instead of going against their intention to actually just run the ball. I think that's what helped them the most is them realizing finally, oh, we're running at 10 yards a clip. Let's just keep doing that.
Right. Hey, if it ain't broke. Folks, I do want to tell you this because I was waiting for confirmation from Aaron. He's going to do a live stream in the Discord. So all of you members that have joined, your starter and above, and you're in the Discord, he'll do some of that in the Discord because it has built-in capability for meetings and videos and that kind of thing. So if you guys are interested, make sure you go sign up for membership and send me your email. I got to have the email in order to get you invited. And it is this address right here. rgrpodcasts@gmail. Will come over to me and I will get you into that very, very special group. Let's see. Are the Ravens an offensive powerhouse?
Oh, it was questionable. Yeah, to call the Ravens an
okay, yeah,
powerhouse was questionable. They're extremely run offensive powerhouse.
Yeah,
that scheme is running back proof. It's offensive line proof.
The Ravens are the reason those guys will tell you never draft a running back. Just use UDFAs because they've scraped together talent off the streets, and that's how good the scheme is and how good the blockers are. Yeah. Oh, I'm jealous.
And Lamar's just Lamar, ridiculous.
Yeah. The sad thing is their running game is what I would do.
Yeah, I know.
That's the hard part for me. On a scale of 1 to 10, how bad is the Honey Badger illegal contact on the
10.
sack call?
10.
Oh, yeah.
It's 10. It's egregious.
It was phantom.
Yeah.
Okay. That is the questions, folks. Thank you for spending the time. We
Thank you, guys.
appreciate it. Dan will be back with something tomorrow. Is it film or are you
sir.
waiting till Wednesday?
No, we're gonna have a nice little rant with an upside. How about that? We'll do
I
some
like that.
rant and upside. Talk about some things we can fix.
Oh, I like that. It's we'll call it the mechanic show, folks. Make sure you
I
tune
like
in
it.
tomorrow. And it fits him really well. Thank you for spending your time tonight. Thank you for all your super chatters and all you new
Thank you
members.
guys
We
so
do
much.
appreciate you very, very much. And I hope that the bite of this one is going to come down for you soon. Matt Jarrett will be on Locked On Chiefs with me tomorrow. We'll be back with you here with Dan tomorrow. Chief in the North on Thursday. Thank you. Have a great night.